Let's do this. The Cult of Hockey podcast by the faithful and for the faithful. I'm David Staples of the Edmonton Journal, and I'm here tonight with the sharp-eyed one, Bruce McCurdy. Hey, Bruce.
Hello, David. How are you tonight?
I'm good. I'm good. How are you?
Good. I'm probably a little bit crooked. It doesn't seem like my
Oh, you're
camera
fine.
wants to
You're right in
stay
the middle there,
straight here.
Bruce. You're right
Okay.
in the middle there.
Okay.
I like that head movement you made. It was like some
Well, I
kind
was
of
trying to get my eyes in line with the camera.
yeah, it was like a new dance move, the McCurdy. All right, Bruce.
Looking
The
through
Oilers
the
won.
screens up the shots. Yeah.
The Oilers won 3-2. Hard
Mm.
fought win where they outchanced Ottawa. Just give me 1 second. I think it was 15-6. Is that what it
15-6, 10-1 in the middle frame was
for?
the
Yeah.
decisive part, and the other two were even.
One power play, they had 6 chances, and they finally scored in the second period. So, Bruce, it was an absolutely stifling defensive performance by the Oilers, I'm going to say,
Mm-hmm.
and good for them. They need to play that kind of defense to win, and until they get two lines going, really going, two offensive lines going. You've got to play strong defensive hockey, and they did so. Bruce, this is going to be our two good things, two bad things, and two numbers podcast. And because it's an Oilers win, we'll go with two good things each. What is your first good thing?
Well, I'm going to jump on the opportunity, rare as it might be, to credit Kyle Turris as one of my good things tonight. Saw him real good in this game, and that's almost a first, I have to say, where he did many more good things than bad, even though ultimately he was judged to be a culprit on the second Ottawa goal for being the F3 who basically got burned on the 3-on-2. But ultimately, that was just a goal that was a fortunate deflection off of Tyson Barrie sticking in the net. That aside, he made a number of very fine plays to set up dangerous scoring opportunities. A great cross ice pass to Alex Chiasson for one-time shot that Chiasson didn't miss. That was an outstanding save by young Daccord in the Ottawa net. Uh, Similarly, Turris set up um, Kara with a good chance right in the slot. Then he had a very good chance of his own, banging away from in close off of a setup from Devon Shore and Caleb Jones. I mean, it's not like he was out there playing with the big boys. He's way down the lineup creating chances. And then he did get a shift with the big boys. It was just quickly during a line change, but Kara went off and Leon Draisaitl came on, and uh, Turris took a headman pass from Koskinen at the blue line and made uh, I got the right one. Hang on a second.
The Draisaitl.
Too many goals. Yeah, this is the Draisaitl goal. Yeah, he took a
Yeah, it
headman
was set up
pass
by
from Barrie. He
Turris
took a headman pass from Barrie
from Barrie. Beautiful
at the
pass.
blue line. Yeah, it was a beauty pass from Barrie, and Turris got it over the line and quickly fed it up ahead to Draisaitl, who come off the bench and was charging up the middle. And it was and Leon got the puck and looked up and snapped her home without taking, just instant shot. And his first goal in 9 games. And who would have guessed that tonight, when Leon finally scored, it would be Kyle Turris setting him up and not, say, Connor McDavid. But it was a nice play, and Turris definitely earned his point by that point, because that was 4 grade A chances that he was absolutely central to. And one that I really liked was where he simply won a battle along the boards to win the puck, take control of it, and make a decisive play and pass with it. Winning battles has not been a forte of this player at all, so a very welcome sight indeed. And tonight, maybe we're seeing flashes of the reasons why the Oilers signed this guy, which have been not often enough. But credit where due, he played well and had a strong game. How'd you grade him tonight, David?
I gave him a 7 because he made all those good plays, but he
That's a good grade.
and was in on the goal, but he made a mistake on a goal against. So generally you subtract 1 for that. I do, because
Right.
he was a kind of a major culprit there. Bruce, he does have some skill. He's flashed it before, and it really came to the fore tonight. But it, it's weird to remark on a player winning a battle, but it's almost like we have to. He's really got to. He's got to make up his mind. He's got to change his orientation to the game and win those physical battles now and then. And he did so tonight. And if he does that, he clearly has a good head for the game still and can make some plays. But so if Kyle Turris decides to, not be a passenger and to be someone who gets his in there in gritty battle fashion, wins a few each game, that's going to be a huge difference, and he can help this team. Good for him. I had him, Bruce. I just did a performance rankings, and I had him in terms of the Oilers' performance rankings. I had him 26th out of 26 players right now, right at the bottom. So, I mean, if he had been sent to the AHL today, I wouldn't have been weeping. But good for him. Earn your spot. Bruce, my good thing was the play of what I'll call the power line. You put McDavid and Draisaitl together. You're loading up. I really, of course, I would prefer to see the dynamite line, but Bruce, the power line with Yamamoto, we haven't seen this particular combination before very much, and really, it's an exciting combination of hockey players. They really work well together. This isn't like with Chiasson out there where it didn't work that well together, and I do have some questions in the defensive zone. Like there was a few times when I saw Yamamoto as the guy down covering around the net because both Draisaitl and McDavid like their offense. And, I would rather not see Yamamoto being the guy down low helping the defenseman in front of the net. I don't think he battles hard. All that said, this line had 16 shots to 8. Yamamoto scored a goal on a nice tip. Draisaitl scored his goal. They were just this far away from having one or two more goals. It just seemed like the puck just didn't bounce their way a few times because they were putting on, just as they did against the Calgary Flames in the second and the third period, they were putting on unbelievable pressure throughout the game, Bruce. This line is going to be a handful. It's not going to be like last year when we were pushing, I was pushing, maybe you were, to break up that line with McDavid and Draisaitl. It's because it wasn't working at all. This line should work, and it did work against the Senators.
Well, it should work a lot more with Yamamoto than Chiasson, I reckon. Just because of Yamamoto's defensive chops, which Zach really, that's not a forte of his game, never has been. And Yamamoto down low doesn't bother me as much as it might, because he's so adept at getting in the lanes, at reading plays, at getting the stick in good spots. And so, I mean, obviously that's not the ideal, but I think the reason that he was chosen to play with them is because he is a strong two-way player.
That's true.
And they need that.
He doesn't need the puck, Bruce, to succeed, and I prefer him over Puljujarvi for that reason. I think it's kind of a waste in a way if you have three players as good as with the puck as McDavid, Draisaitl, and Puljujarvi all on the same line. Yamamoto really doesn't need it on his stick to be a successful player in the game. So in that way, he fits in very well. Earlier today, I did a post where I looked at the Oilers' kind of power couples. So these are the combinations of forwards, of their best forwards, to see how they've done, and over the last couple seasons. And this is in fairly large sample sizes of ice time. So Draisaitl and Nugent Hopkins' goal for percentage, Bruce, is 55%, 60 goals for, 50 against at even strength. McDavid and Draisaitl's is 54%, 125 goals for, 108 against, which is a pretty good goals for percentage for an average player. But when you have the two best attackers on the ice, that you want a little bit more than just 54 goals for percentage, quite honestly, from those two guys. McDavid and RNH, their goal for percentage is 47%, which is just atrocious. You might look at it and say they've had bad puck luck. I don't really believe that over 823 even strength minutes. I just think it's a bad mix of players, that they're both fundamentally passers of the puck, and Nuge especially is wasted with McDavid. He's not a finisher. He needs to be setting up other players, and hopefully he'll be setting up Puljujarvi on the second line right now. But the Oilers' real power couple is Yamamoto and Draisaitl, 65 goals for percent, 50 goals for, 28 against.
Nice.
Now, a lot of that came with Nugent Hopkins, of course, but
Yes. Mm-hmm.
these two guys, you have that going for them, that kind of synergy between these guys. And then you add Connor McDavid.
Yeah.
The power line is going to be powerful.
Yeah.
What?
Yes. Yeah. There's just way too much talent in there for them, not to generate a lot of chances, and they're going to put some pucks in the net. There's no two ways about it.
Bruce, what is your second good thing?
I'm going to credit Mikko Koskinen for his pass on the Alex Chiasson goal at the end of the power play with when the Senators finally got the puck out after some extended pressure, and the Oilers, a couple of them went to the bench, and a couple of Ottawa guys went to the far bench, and Koskinen came way out to field the icing play, the clearance, and immediately made a long pass up the weak side, the penalty box side, away from the change, and found McDavid there. McDavid chipped it up to Chiasson, and because Ottawa was changing, and because Darnell Nurse was right on top of things, and he charged into the play on the other side, that suddenly the Oilers had a 2-on-1, and Chiasson went in, and it made it look like I was pretty convinced he was going to pass the puck, and then bam, short side, top corner, perfect shot. What a great shot by Chiasson.
Wasn't it?
And but the whole play was made possible by Mikko Koskinen's Mike Smith style, coming out to pick off a pass early and shoot it right up the other way and catch the other team in the act of changing. He almost caught his own team. I think that was, the last two goals for Edmonton, the second and third, are so similar. I might be mixing them up. And that it was a long stretch pass to the penalty box side, and during a change, because of course Draisaitl was coming on the Turris goal, and Draisaitl had just gone off for the Chiasson goal, but it was one of them, and I think it was that power play one where the two Oilers were going off at the bench inside the blue line. Just as the puck was hitting the line, the second guy was clearing the bench. And I looked at the replay and I said, if Ottawa had challenged that, they might have won the challenge, but they didn't challenge it. And it was a very near thing. And I hate that bench not being on the blue line. I hate that it's in the zone.
Design flaw, Bruce.
Yeah.
I like the Koskinen. He looked confident with the puck, more confident than he's looked. He's learning from Mike Smith.
Yeah, no question.
And that's great. Good for Mikko Koskinen.
Great.
That could make a big difference to him because he was moving the puck very well. And that, it almost made up for what. So we'll get to that a little bit earlier with Koskinen.
We probably will, eh?
Yeah, we probably will when we get to our bad things. But that was a hell of a play by Mikko Koskinen.
It was.
Yeah.
It was, yeah. And I mean, without that play by Koskinen, that's not going to be a goal. No. The Oilers only won by one goal. I mean, he got a legitimate assist on that goal, like a scoring point, and he earned it.
That's a Detroit Red Wings play. They always used to do that, catch teams when they're changing or catch teams when they're off guard with the quick breakout, usually from a Nicholas Lidstrom pass. But they were always looking for it, and they just killed the Oilers repeatedly with that kind of quick
and everybody
charge up the ice. Here's some good news, Bruce. The Canucks beat the Canadiens 2-1, but the bad news, it was in overtime, and the Canadiens.
It was 1-0 with like 6 minutes to play.
Yeah.
I just hope for regulation results. I don't care who wins half these games. I just want it to be in regulation.
Yeah, it sucks.
Montreal's up to 7 loser points now.
Yeah,
7.
They might.
Oilers have played one overtime game all year, but guess what? They don't. They just get fewer points to play for because the NHL has still not figured out that games should have the same value.
Yeah. My
win for Vancouver 3 in a row. They beat the Leafs twice, and now the Habs, and a little bit of rest, David. I've been saying to you, their schedule was just vicious in the first go, and they finally got a time to catch their breath, and now it looks like they got their second win.
And after looking so good early in the year, the Habs have not been playing that well for the last month. So that's good because I didn't think they were that good a team heading into the season. Just looking at all their moves, I was thinking, this doesn't, I don't think it's going to work. But it did work early on, and now it's kind of the result. Well, they fired their coach, right? So, Bruce, my second good thing, I gave I graded the game already. It's already posted. I gave 2 defensemen 8 grades, and for such a sterling defensive effort, I just felt it was appropriate to give out high marks like that. And I think maybe when I think about my marking, maybe I interchange the defensive defenseman, but I just thought Adam Larsson and Darnell Nurse were just fantastic tonight. And they often have been this season, especially Adam Larsson in his own zone. Nurse is more of a complete player, and he plays more minutes. Yeah. Adam Larsson's been a more effective two-way player, though, in my books than Darnell Nurse, just because he's been he's chipped in on offense. He had a nice little rush tonight and set up Puljujarvi in the slot. But his defensive play, Bruce, he brutalizes the other team while shutting them down. There was a play in the third period where Brady Tkachuk was coming in, their most dangerous attacker probably,
pretty much,
and a strong bull of a man, and Larsson just wiped him out as he's going down the wing, pushed him into the corner like a little piece of trash, swept him away. And I really liked that, Bruce. I really, really liked that. And he just lays on the lumber. He doesn't get penalized for it. But he's the epitome of hard to play against. Darnell Nurse is I've mentioned this before, the Doug Harvey in the rocking chair. He's starting to seem that way when he it's so confident out there, and he makes all these little plays with the puck. There was one play where he got the puck behind his own net and someone was on his tail, and he faked it one way, and the guy froze, and then he moved it the other way. And this is the kind of little stick fake that Nurse never made in the past.
Yeah.
And he's making consistently. He's really worked hard in the offseason, I bet you, with Adam Oates, on those situations where he's going back for the puck, retrieving the puck, and making a play with it. And he's finally figuring out how to be really effective in those situations. And I'm loving it. I loved his game tonight.
He's such a great skater. He wins a lot of puck battles simply by winning races to the puck and taking command of it, which, you don't really see him as one-on-one battles, but just because of his range. And what I've been noticing more and more this year is that when he does make a move to get by himself some open ice, he actually uses it, and he takes it, the time to survey the options and generally make the right decisions with the puck and got it going in the right direction. His game is really taken a step on the maturation side, and as we've all been hoping for some years that it needed to do, well, I think we're seeing real concrete steps in that direction, and it's very encouraging.
I don't know if he's done video work, but I just imagine that he might have done so, like watching some of the best big defenders with the puck, like Hedman or Peter Angelo, and the little tricks they're doing, because he just seems to have incorporated a number of them into his game this year to good effect. What is your bad thing, Bruce?
Well, I've got to go back to the first minute of the game and that very bad opening goal that was scored by Jenny Dadonov from Ottawa from a bad angle. He just wheeled, and it looked like he just slid it right along the ice. Koskinen had his pad down. It was a little bit of a broken play. Like, the shot wasn't necessarily the percentage play there, but he had his pad down. And for whatever reason, he flexed and he lifted his pad about this far off. What's the diameter of a puck? This far off the ice. And when he put his knee back down, somehow the puck had gone just under maybe the crook of his pad down by the ankle.
Are you sure, Bruce? Because I thought it went over his pad.
Didn't go
I thought,
over,
there's that little hole like between. I can't between his pad and his arm when he's hugging the post, because then he moved off because he thought it was going to be a pass. He moved off the post, and I just thought it went under his arm and over the pad. But people can check the
pad sealed to the ice, and then he flexed it, and to me it went under his pad and in. That's how I saw it. But I stand to be corrected on video review, but I haven't got it right in front of me.
I'll go with your.
Either way, you got to have a save there. You just got to have
it doesn't really matter, does it?
And what did he call it? They interviewed him in the post game, and I think he said nightmare.
He said it was a nightmare. He said, "I like Mikko Koskinen. He's an earnest and honest man. I find him to be kind of likable. He's a very serious person, but you can see he takes it to heart, right? He really wears it.
Yeah.
he wears the responsibility of his mistakes. He's not blithe or glib about them. So I'm
Here's
really
a
rooting for the guy, and he won.
here
He won the game.
he won the game. Here's an odd thing. He played against Ottawa a month ago on February 9th. Smith came back and he played on the Monday a month ago today, February 8th. And Koskinen played the second game on the 9th, and the Oilers were playing on fumes at that point. And Ottawa scored on their very first shot 26 seconds into the first period to take the 1-0 lead. The Oilers tied it a few minutes later. The Oilers got a couple goals to take a 3-1 lead. Ottawa cut the gap to 3-2 with a period or so to play. And the Oilers hung on and they won at 3-2. The exact same, basically, scoring sequence as what happened tonight, including the first minute goal against. And both times the Oilers bounced back from giving up that first goal to come back and win the game. And Ottawa's tough, man. They're a better team than, as we've seen. And since Edmonton swept them in Ottawa a month ago, they went 7-5, 7 wins, 5 losses. They beat Calgary 3 times. They beat Calgary.
Wow.
3 times in 11 days. They beat
Calgary's
Calgary.
defense is weak this year. Like that's the truth about the Calgary Flames. They have some forwards that can play, and they've got a goalie maybe, but their defense, Gio's suddenly gotten old, and they really miss Brody. That was a bad mistake not to sign him, and yeah.
Yeah, well, Gio misses Brody.
Yeah,
and their big plus signing of the goalie, Markstrom. Wasn't it Markstrom who gave in a great B chance in a 2-2 tie with 4 minutes left the other night? I think that was Markstrom.
Yeah, I'm glad the Oilers didn't sign. I was glad at the time, and at the start of the year, I was starting to he's off to a good start. You have to expect that. Like I would expect Markstrom to have a good year this year, probably next year. But man, what did they sign him? 6 years?
6 years, $6 million.
Yeah, Bruce, I'm not a fan of that contract. Was it 6 or was it 5? I can't remember.
It was
anyway.
6 times 6. The Oilers offered him 7 times 5.
Oh, that's it. Yeah, okay. Anyway, Bruce, my bad thing is it's not the loser point that the Habs got, but it might be. I'm a little worried about the new second line, if I'm completely honest. These are all good players. Nugent Hopkins is a very good player. Yes, Puljujärvi is a good player, and Tyler Ennis has his moments. He's really good on the attack. He's not so good on defense. Yeah. He's leaked more grade A scoring chances against than any other Oilers forward this year. And we saw another example of that tonight. There was a play in the third period where there was just a wide open point shot that Ennis was way out to lunch on. He just wasn't even in the wasn't close to getting in front of it, and it was almost deflected in. It was an iffy moment. But I'm worried about. I like Nugent Hopkins a lot defensively as a winger, and offensively as a winger. I like him fine offensively as a center. I don't like Ryan Nugent Hopkins defensively as a center. The team was outchanced 4-8, or excuse me, outshot 4-8 when he was on the ice tonight. And he's a reasonably conscientious defensive hockey player, but he gets overpowered. He loses battles down there, and he would just have to really up his intensity as a defensive player if this is going to work. Maybe he can do that. Maybe he can make that happen. But I've been watching him a long time as a defensive center in Edmonton, and maybe not everyone's going to agree with this. I'm sure there's some people who think he's a great defensive center or a good one. I don't. I think he's average at best in that role, and so I'm worried about that. Puljujärvi had a strong game. I thought he was fine. He's not going to be the weak link on that line, but Ennis, his defense, and Nugent, you combine those two iffy defensive players, and I could see the Oilers having a hard time breaking the cycle when that line is on the ice. It could be, we could be back in 2013-14 again when these guys are out there.
Boy, did Puljujärvi make a nice play, though, in the second period, busting into the slot and then making a backhanded feed. Oh. And what a great save that was off of Nuge. It looked like it was going to be a goal. This was just before Leon did score to make it 3-1. But
did the goalie save that, or was it blocked? I couldn't tell.
He did.
What a save! Did. I couldn't believe they didn't score.
Great stuff.
Yeah. So they'll attack. Okay, like they should get some chances, that line. But I'm a little worried about the defense of that line. So, do you agree? What do you think?
Well, I think it's kind of a temporary thing. I think they're cycling through the nuclear option for a bit, and it'll run its course, and they'll go back to the separate line models. But for now, it's the as I said to you on Saturday, the in case of emergency break glass line, and they came through with the points on all three Edmonton goals tonight after coming through with points on all three Edmonton goals on Saturday night. So I guess it's working.
Yeah, I think what this highlights to me is, and we were talking about trade options last week in our podcast, the need for another top line winger or center. And I don't think this player that they bring in has to be a great attacker. I think he has to be a good attacker who's a glue player, who's really strong defensively. And it could be a center for the second line. You put with Nugent Hopkins and Puljujarvi. I mean, that if they want to keep this top line together, that might work. But it could be a strong defensive winger to play with McDavid on the top line. So, like they have to have some offensive game, obviously. But anyway, I just keep thinking that because I don't mind. Like if that top line works, I'm all for keeping good lines together. And if a line's working, I'm okay with that. You just have to figure out a way to get the other lines working as well. What's your number, Bruce?
I'm going to go with the number 6 tonight, and that is the number of shots on goal by Alex Chiasson that he generated in just, I think, 12 minutes ice time, 12 minutes and 7 seconds.
Yeah.
3 minutes of it on the power play, 9 at even strength. And at least 4 of those chances were excellent scoring chances. He was flat out robbed by Decord on that terrific Royal Road pass by Turris. And Chiasson did not miss. He hammered a one-timer, and I thought it was going to be in for sure, and the goalie somehow got over and smothered it. Then on the power play in the second period, he got in deep for 2 excellent jam shots in a row. Again, he got robbed a couple of times, and I think he may have said a nasty word to the goalie after that. And that was the one where they cleared the zone, and Koskinen played the puck up to McDavid and back to Chiasson. And after shooting from close range a couple times, he came in on the 2-on-1, and he sort of sold the pass, and then bang, that perfect shot into the top corner that gave the Oilers the lead, that put him ahead to stay. And I just like his game. I often like his game. I'm a fan of this player, and I think he contributes. And even those who don't like his contract, I would implore you to dislike the contract as opposed to the player who signed the contract, because he does help the team at whatever value you assign to that. And tonight was the case where he was named the first star of this game, and
I don't
probably deservedly so. He had a strong game.
I don't see this niggling over a contract like that. Like, if you want to get mad at a contract, you get mad at the Milan Lucic contract, right? Like the James Neal contract that we were forced to take in return.
Lucic contract, yeah.
Yeah, the Chiasson contract is like, what is it? If it's an overpay, like you've put it well, Bruce. He earns $1 million for his power play work and another $1 million for his even strength work. You could say, oh well, he should only get $700,000 for his even strength work. He should get $1.7 million. But he's $1 million power player, Bruce, and that play demonstrated he is in on as many power play chances as almost anyone else on the Edmonton Oilers, because
by
he's
our
always,
method of counting, yeah.
Which you give credit for battles won in front of the net and screens, which are integral to goal scoring.
Yep.
He's right in there. He's outstanding at it. He was a key player on the best power player of the last 40 years. I mean, that has a monetary value. And you know what? At even strength, he gives up hardly anything. He's such a fine defensive player. He's so responsible. He back checks hard. He always covers the point. He's not letting guys walk in there and get a wicked shot in the third period that almost goes in. He never does that. So, yeah, I like. We're in the same camp, Bruce. We're in the Team Chiasson, I guess, is the name.
Chiasson fan club. I'm in it, and I like him, and I like him as an interview. He just seems like a thoughtful guy. I think he has his teammates' backs. His size comes into advantage. He's got a little bit of edge to him, and every once in a while he produces something on the scoreboard, but that's just part of a broader game that he brings.
I like that fourth line of Neal, Chiasson, and Haas. I think it's a good fourth line. I mean, you might think about moving out Neal now and then and putting in Joakim Nygard, for instance, like that might work too. But I, in the playoffs, I think that'll be a good line. Those two veteran wingers, big tough guys, they'll make some noise, and they did last year, and they will again this year. And Gaetan Haas is, I don't know if he's going to score much, Bruce. I don't know if he's going to score much, but
I'm starting to know that he isn't going to score much.
Exactly. But he really flies out there. He's a good penalty killer, and he's a very sound defensive player. So what you want from your fourth line is you want it to go at least just evens good. Evens when you got the McDavid line, evens good for your fourth line, and these guys keep it even most nights, and sometimes they get a goal. That was on the power play, of course. My number, yeah. My number is 9. That's the number of breakaway chances Connor McDavid has had this season. 9 breakaways. He had one tonight, one really clear one. And I would ask you the quiz question, how many goals has he scored on those 9 breakaway chances? But I told you the answer before the podcast.
Well, you asked me before the podcast, and I guessed 1.
Did you guess 1?
I did guess 1. Yes, I said 1.
Okay.
You said
all
1.
Right. So. I thought I said the answer before you guessed it. All right, I give you full credit then.
Well, I'm giving myself credit because I said 1. Wasn't sure, but I knew it wasn't very damn many. Remember Gretzky, he used to get lots of breakaways, and he had a hell of a time burying them.
1 out of 9.
Yeah.
He's coming in there like a rocket. Mm-hmm. And he's only got the 1 goal. So, that's interesting. I don't know what to make of that. I'll have to look at. I'd have to check the last year's numbers and see how he did for breakaways and goal scoring. It's a lot of breakaways. It's not a lot of goals for that amount of them.
No, you only counted the first shot as a breakaway and not the rebound, right? Tonight?
I didn't. No, because by then there was other people there, and it was kind of he was.
I thought he put that one in for sure, and somehow it stayed out.
Yeah, they were all around the net. McDavid was all around the net. And it's funny because the one assist he got was kind of a rote play, just put it back to the point to Nurse. Mm-hmm. And Darnell, that was another little twist in Nurse's game. He's starting to get some of these pucks in on net towards the net. Like he made a nice little deke there. He didn't put it off the guy's shin pads or pound it down to the corner. He actually found a way to get it on towards the net, and there Yamamoto was, that sneaky guy.
Flexible shot, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, one knock on Nurse, and some nights he does this, and some nights he's getting better. It's that he lets in too many floaters from the blue line that are easy saves and kill plays. But this year he's shooting more for deflections, and I think you'd find 2 or 3 of his assists at least have come on shots that he fired that someone else tipped home.
Yeah, that typified his play all these years, is that the long offensive zone cycle often involving the McDavid line. He's out there with him. Puck goes back to Darnell, and he floats it in on net. How many times did we see that? And maybe someone's given him hell, or maybe he's figured it out himself that's not acceptable, and he's not doing it as much. So because I'm expecting it almost. The puck finally comes to him on the cycle, and right now and then it doesn't happen. I'm like, wow, it didn't happen. He made a play. Like he kept it going.
He's waiting for the traffic, and then he's shooting somewhere into the traffic where there might be a friendly stick.
Yeah. Huh. All righty, Bruce. 1 down, 2 to go. It would be lucky if the Oilers can continue to have this kind of winning streak against Ottawa. Although, if you look at the games, I think there's only been the one that Ottawa was close in. The other 3 wins were fairly handy wins for the Oilers in terms of grade A chances, but there was one that could have gone either way quite easily.
Well, the other 3-2 game where they scored in the first minute, that was, I think, 13-9 for Ottawa for chances. I know they had 42 shots in that game, and Koskinen was very strong. That was game 12, game 15, I guess. It was right after Smith came back. And that was the one where Ottawa really deserved a better fate. But the last three games have essentially been 1-goal wins for Edmonton, 3-1 with an empty netter, 3-2, 3-2. All in regulation. Ottawa hasn't got a single point out of any of these games.
I'd almost like them to see them come back with Koskinen and net, because I think he's struggling a little bit with his confidence, and maybe that would be something that would get him in a bit more of a groove, like set him right, because they're going to need him. Bruce,
Yeah,
they're
well,
going to
they
need this
play
goalie.
Friday, Saturday, so I have an idea they'll go Smith, and then they'll split the weekend series. Probably Koskinen against Ottawa, Smith in Vancouver. That would be my guess, is that they'll just go back and forth through these next handful of games. And now there's so many games in a row coming up that you're going to see plenty of both guys, and they're going to see plenty of rubber because the team's going to be tired.
So the Oilers play Ottawa, then Vancouver?
They play Ottawa, Wednesday, Friday, in Vancouver, Saturday, in Calgary, Monday, in Calgary, Wednesday, back home against Winnipeg, Thursday.
Gotcha. Okay.
So it's like 5 games in 7 days, and they have 2 back-to-backs, and both times they're traveling during the day. So that's a pretty rugged schedule.
You're going to be podcasting up a storm.
We are.
Bruce, I don't know what my record is in games this year, game grading, but I think I'm on a pretty good run here, if I'm not mistaken.
Well, I've had all the losses, so you're probably doing all right.
Sorry. It's so much harder to grade it when they lose. It's just painful. You've had some of those painful.
Well, I got a couple wins there. That one on Saturday, that comeback win on Saturday, that was pretty sweet. That one looked an awful lot like a loss when Calgary took the lead early in the third.
Oh.
And I was not in a happy frame of mind. In fact, I was quite sour. And they came back to pull out the win. So maybe my luck is changing.
There's been some huge wins. That one sticks out, and there was one against Toronto where they scored near the end of the game. And there was one play near the end of the game where Toronto almost scored, and they didn't. Mm-hmm. And then I think the Oilers scored. I think it was the second time that the Oilers had beat Toronto, and that was such a huge win because the Oilers were really struggling at that point as well.
That was a one overtime game Oilers had played all year, and it lasted less than a minute of overtime. Draisaitl fed McDavid for the tip-in.
Sweet. Yeah, we haven't had overtime this year. Been a stranger to the oil country. Let's leave it there, Bruce. Thanks for talking tonight.
Thanks for listening, everyone.
And in the meantime, and in between times, this has been another edition of the Cult of Hockey podcast.